Hi Tim, this is Kwabena. Here's my submission for the agent observability test task. I've built a full stack monitoring solution designed to ingest agent events and automatically flag common failure modes. Now the architecture consists of a Python Flask backend, right? As Python is the language that I'm most proficient in, and a high contrast monitoring UI. And also, as the requirements indicated, a CLI based simulation suite to verify the heuristics. All right. So, as you can see, here is my code base, right? Here's my code base. Now, the first requirement was comprehensive logging. Using the CLI tool, I'm triggering a normal scenario. You see it appear instantly in the dashboard. So, I'll go on and do that. Um, all right. So, I have triggered the normal scenario, right? I've triggered the normal scenario. Now I'll show you in the front end, the minimal HTML, CSS, JavaScript front end that I built for this, what the result looks like. All right, so as you can see, our dashboard has been updated, right? And you can see listed here is the session that we just created by simulating the normal scenario, right? That's from the CLI. One thing that I added on, right, as a feature, right, myself, was these buttons you see here, right. That allow you to simulate any of the scenarios that we discussed on the go, yeah, so that you don't always have to use the CLI. Anyway, although the CLI was a requirement in the file that you shared with me, right. So this is the session that was created by the trigger that I did initially by triggering the normal scenario. So I'll go ahead and click on this session. So it will take me to the session detail page, right? Now on this session detail page, the simulated session has goes through three steps, right? Goes through three steps. Obviously, the session must have a session ID. So a session ID is generated for the session, it's in the code base where we do generate the session ID for the session. Now, the event timeline shows us all the steps that the session went, all the steps that the agent went through. Sorry. So then you can see the step one where the start of the process is the start of the event is sorry. So you can see I did put these in there, right, so that it will make it feel more realistic. So in the start stage of this event, the input, right, the input I have put in here, right, is a user query that says to find flight. Now we are capturing the full context of every step. Obviously, we've included the input and outputs. This actually provides a level of observability that is needed to audit the agent actions in production. And as you can see, we've highlighted the detected issues section, right? In the normal scenario, we know there's no expected issues, right? So that's why you see none detected here. All right, so I'll go on and show you the rest. All right, so we are going to continue with the rest of the simulations, right? So initially, I showed you the that of the normal scenario. Now let's move on so that I can show you what happens in the loop scenario, right? As was stated in the requirements, right? Now I'm using a counter-based heuristic in my detector logic, and that is in the detector Python file. It's detector.py in my code base. So now because the simulator will send a repeating step two, three times, the backend is able to identify that pattern. All right, so here's here we go. So let me simulate a loop. All right, so let's give it a second. All right, so as you can see here, there are repeated repetitions for the step two. You can see three successive repetitions, right? So this is instantly flagged, right? Flagged by the code, flagged by the backend, and it is marked as a loop, right? It's marked as I'm sorry, so it's marked as a loop, and then as you can see here, the in the UI I have used an orange high contrast border, right, to flag this as a warning. Now, by allowing the storage layer to record duplicate events, we can now ensure that the detector has raw data needed to alert the user before compute cost spiral, right? So that is for the loop simulation. Now, I'd like us to go ahead and simulate the failure scenario, right? Then we'll go ahead with the drift, right? So when we simulate a failure, right? So you can see that the detected issues highlights that the failures have been detected, right? Now, for the failure detection, the system tracks consecutive failures and then the total success rates. Now, in this scenario, the agent hit back to back 4-1 and 4-3 errors. So, yeah, basically that is with the failure detection, right? I'm very sorry, I've not been very good the past week. All right, so our last is the logic drift, right? Now we use a sliding window algorithm that is establishing a happy path, right? That's the ideal path from the initial session actions. When the sequence deviates, right, like the unexpected reset, I'll show you in a bit what that is. The window flags the mismatch. Now this will ensure that the agents stay within their operational guardrails. So I'll go ahead and simulate the drift. Right, so as you can see, the the steps the steps that are within the AI in the event timeline are in order of course. But then you can see that step four shows there's a drift from the logical usual flow, right? So basically we also highlight the drift. If the scenario is a drift, it is also going to be highlighted in the detected issues section. So this is basically everything, right? So this is basically everything. Now, to ensure a polished experience, I added explicit non-detected, as you saw in the earlier stages, right? In green, of course, to ensure that the UI is never ambiguous about what the their issues are, right? Now, the entire system is using an indigo palette for a modern professional look. And, I did choose this HTML, CSS, JavaScript stack. Although you highlighted Next.js in the specification, I think you said you preferred it. Well, I did go ahead with this either way because I felt, it's such a simple and a faster uh, way to solve the problem, right? So that's why I did go ahead with the HTML, CSS, JavaScript UI. Sorry about that. And I hope that it met all the requirements. So I will be sending this to you, and I will be grateful if we could move forward, right, with this. If I could get your feedback on this, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity for that I've had working on this, right? All right, so I think this is where the video ends.